what is the offer that I'm going to put out there? And then also, what am I going to say I want, and what will I accept?
Right.
And something in between. And because you want to go out there and you want to have a reasonable evaluation so that the entire conversation is not about your evaluation is crazy. You want to go out there and have something that's at least in the realm of reasonable. And so that then you can negotiate against. And then you also want to sort of I wanted to set a boundary about this is what I wanted to do. And so, in terms.
How did you decide on valuations for that you would start with? Was it formulaic, and how did?
So I thought that at the time we had contracts for that year, and I knew what we were going to make. I had a really good idea about what we were going to make that year. And so which was about 3 times what we were in terms of revenue, 3 or 4 times revenue, 3 times profit, at least what we made the year before. And so I really used 5 times profit for what that was going to be, which is an entirely reasonable metric to use. And so that's how I came up with, and it wasn't based on last year's, it was based on projected, but it was already in the books.
Right.
We just had to execute. So that was the hardest thing to do, is coming up with something that's reasonable to begin with. But in terms of Sanger, back to your question, there's a professor out of the University of Chicago, Medved, that teaches on negotiating. It's really good. Also a big, which I went back and reread this stuff. Also, there's a great book called Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss.
Chris Voss.
And went back and reread that book during the process. And so came up with a variety of strategies for overcoming objections to a variety of different scenarios. I then did actual role play with my forum, 2 other forums in the Dallas and the Fort Worth chapter. And then even when I flew out to LA, I did another run through with the LA chapter. They put together 6 or 8 people to act as my sharks. And so I had sort of gone in as I think 5 total times I had practiced for, total dress rehearsal. No, it's not stopping. There's no when you're actually on the stage, on the set, they don't stop it. If you mess up, they just keep on filming. And so we did that same thing. And so I really got a lot of practice. I got better every single time, and understood sort of what I wanted to do. And I negotiated for probably at least 20 minutes with Mr. Wonderful, Kevin O'Leary, during our own thing. 15 minutes in, everyone is out except for Kevin. I'm really thinking I'm doing a terrible job. I'm failing because I've got a great business and everybody's out. I'm about to walk out of here in less than 20 minutes. So he actually makes me an unreasonable offer. And then I negotiate with him, ask him some questions, if he's really interested in just safety of his money, or is it the return on his capital, what he's worried about, which they edited all out. And so then with all that, I then crafted an offer where I basically took all the risk out of the deal. And then Daymond got interested, and then ultimately Barbra came back in and got interested as well.
What did you do to take the risk out of the deal?
Well, so I went in there and was offering. I offered 10%. I offered 10% of the business for $200,000, and the rules of the show is they have to offer you the amount of money that you came in asking for. So if you ask for $200,000, they've got to give you $200,000. The structure of it can be any way that you mutually agree on, but they at least have to give you that amount of money. And so that's why the importance of making sure your offer to begin with is right.
Right. So they can play with the percentage for that money, but
that's
they've
right.
got to keep the money.
Yeah, or they could structure it as a loan or do it.
And so that's what I did, is I then had a variety of different things that I would alter in terms of the offer that I would accept or I would give to them. And so I think I did a really good job actually of controlling the room, of not letting them direct the negotiating. I was really, I think, forceful about making them being part of the process and not being just spoken to. We went back and forth a variety of things about offers. He made a very lowball offer to begin with. I came back and I had this thought in my head about, is this a real offer, or is this just playing the part, just so that we can get some footage and just to be on air, and I'm about to walk out of here. So I made him an offer. I came back at 15%. He'd offered 50%. I came back at 15%. They didn't agree. I went into some sort of a Q&A with him. And then I realized that, I'm going to just take the risk out by using the number he said, 50%, until he gets his money back. And then, if I can show that they can get the money back in a year or two or something very, very soon, then the amount of risk is very, very low to them. So I made the offer of the $200,000, but I pay it back. They get 50% of the profits until they get their money paid back. But then after that, they only get the 10% that I'd offered to begin with, because really it wasn't about the money. I didn't need the money to go in. This was my way of almost saying that if a shark would come to me today and say, "Hey, Mitchell, just give me 10% of your business." If Mark Cuban came to me today and said, "Hey, Mitchell, I made a mistake. I really want to be part of HireSanta. You're doing great things. Just give me 10% and I'll promote it on my social media and I'll help you out. You talk with me." You know what? I'd probably say, okay.
Right.
Because that the value of that mentorship and the value of their social media, I think is very important. So in essence, that's what I did with the offer, is saying, I'll pay your money back super quick, like 50-50 partners. Then once you get your money back, you're back down to that 10%. So I said that to Kevin. He said it, and then it's like, "Oh, I really like that offer, but I want 20%. So I repeated I said, "This is what you're wanting." And then Daymond came in and said, "I'll take 10%. I'm like, "All right, great. Now we're talking. I've got two people. I can use them against each other." I went into repeating of one of the strategies I was using was repeating the offers to control the room. And I said, "All right, Kevin, here's the offer. You'll take for $200,000. You'll get your money back with 50% of the profits until you get your money back, and then you'll own 20% of the business." And he says, "I'll go down to 15%. I said, "Great." Started over. "All right, here's your offer, Daymond." And then I was starting to go to Daymond, and then Daymond says, "I want 15%. I'm like, "Oh, crap. I just lost 5%. I just lost, the deal just got 50% worse with Daymond."
Wait, this is going backwards.
Yeah. So, and then I
genius move for him though, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't need to be low anymore.
Yeah.
I'm just not the asshole that's dragging this on. In that moment, you've got to go, okay. You're like this close to going, "All right, man, I'll go with you, Daymond."
Yeah. And so at that time, one of the things that, I'd love to see the full 45 or 50 minutes of the tape, and you don't get to. I actually felt like one of the things that I took from watching all these Shark Tank episodes is I don't like when the entrepreneur is begging or is weak on the show. And I don't think that I did that except for once. And that was when Daymond said this 15%. And I came back I actually asked them, I don't remember that thing. I asked them if they'd work together. And Daymond said no. He didn't say it very nicely, but he said no in a funny way. Again, that got edited out. And then in what I thought was sort of it sounded weak when I watch it now. I asked him if I'll do the deal at 10%. And he says, "No, I want a little bit more than that." Oh, great. I said, "All right." So then I think I repeated it again. And then that's when Barbra came in, and Barbra said, "I'll take your original deal. And, but you've got to tell me right now." And that's not edited. That's edited out. you've got to tell me right now. Because I would have stayed and negotiated. Now I've got 3 people. I would have totally negotiated with the 3 of them to get a better deal. And so I repeated, I said, so it's 50% of the profits. So you get your money back and then you'll be at 10%. And she said, yeah, that's right. And then I had a closing line, which was from Santa and all the elves at HireSanta HireSanta would love to do a deal with you. And then we did a deal with Barbra.
That's cool.
So
what happens following that? Because I imagine that there are continuations of that negotiation and due diligence and this, back and forth.
Yes. So there is totally that. But let me even go back, probably what you're not even, what you didn't ask, but is what I thought when you were saying it. So typically right after that, you go to a green screen studio, and that's where they ask the entrepreneurs the questions. And so your producers you've been working with all for the last 6 months are sitting there and they're asking you questions that are going to be part of right after the episode. They're, well, what did you think about when so-and-so said, what do you think about getting a deal with Barbra? And then, they film that.
Sure.
Before that, we did something that they normally do not do, which is we actually, myself and all the Sims, we went back onto the set to film promos for this episode and the holiday episode. And so we actually got to go back onto the set and take some pictures and interact with the sharks a little bit and the producers in ways that people normally don't do. So we did that right directly afterwards, which was sort of cool. Got to interact with the sharks a little bit, talk to the real producers of the show and talk to them about, the episode or about what just happened. And so that was from an entrepreneur standpoint, I thought that was very interesting. Then we go to the green screen and then you go back to your trailer. I went back to the trailer and of course, super excited, talked to my wife. And after every filming, and they told us this was going to happen, a psychiatrist comes to your trailer and debriefs you a little bit about
a psychiatrist.
Yes, to make sure that you are okay.
Because that's such a
that you don't feel
moment.
like you got taken advantage of, or that you feel
or that you're not
checking?
Depressed, or
Buyer's remorse.
Or just and it's not just for people who get a deal. I can imagine it if you didn't get a deal, that you're depressed and whatever it is. And I'm like, I just got a deal on Shark Tank. This is awesome. I feel terrific. Why wouldn't I feel great? So that was pretty short. Right afterwards, and then Barbra's guy, his name's Michael, he's a great guy. Each of the sharks has somebody who basically interacts with the entrepreneurs. He comes to the trailer and tells you what's going to happen next. Get a welcome email, get a due diligence list to start working on, and sort of walk you through what's going to happen with that process. But even leading up to that, I had filled out hundreds of pages of documents, signed incredibly tight contracts with ABC and Disney that your attorneys would not want you to sign. Literally, it's like in the language, I remember something that said, we can humiliate you, ruin your business, and you have no recourse. And so you have to sign them or they're just going to go on to the next person in the 40,000 that
they'll find somebody else who will sign it. Right.
Yeah. And you can't, there's no edits to it. And so I'd already, and also all the financial information, you've already submitted that. So they've had financial analysts already look at your stuff and ask questions about it before you get onto the tank. So that your finances are in order. Then once you get a deal, now it's basically starting over, getting all the information to Barbra and her team to review, and then go into a real negotiating after that point about getting a deal actually done.
So when you're in these negotiations, you're making split-second decisions about how to react to an offer, how to maybe counter offer, whether or not to accept. A lot of people, it seems like they get flustered. Right? It seems like they go, okay, I'll take a deal because I need a deal, right? Or they get offended and they get emotional and they go, oh, well, you lowballed me, screw you, right? so many people, I don't know, I've never been there, but it seems like most people are